Hey guys, welcome back to another Spy Family Sunday. I'm here to talk about chapter 97 of the Spy Family manga. Again, if you're new to the channel, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. So this chapter starts off with Mr. Henderson, and he's talking with this woman named Matron, and she's doing some laundry. The kids are still on their break from the end of the semester, and she heard through the grapevine that Mr. Henderson and his partner were quite the couple during the school dance. Mr. Henderson says, "Oh yes, Martha. She's simply an old friend." And so we're going into a flashback chapter on Martha and Henderson, which I think is great because ever since the Red Circus incident, I felt like we should definitely know more about these two characters. They work great together. We start off with Henry. He's 17. Of course, he's attending Eden Academy. There's a girl on stage performing ballet, and apparently this girl transferred into Eden Academy through a scholarship because of her dancing skills. And so everybody's captivated by her, and this is the first time Henderson says that anything was elegant, and he's clapping in the audience, and she notices. Martha seems to be pretty popular through her dancing ability, so she gains a lot of friends. Henry kind of loses some friends, and they start calling him Mr. Elegant. And so at this point, Henry's 17, he's already an Imperial Scholar, and he's sitting outside drinking some tea, and Martha comes up and she's like, "Oh, you can drink tea outside of certain times," and he's telling her, once you're an Imperial Scholar, you just ask your teacher for permission to do so. And so Martha basically just invades Henry's space, starts talking to him, wanting to be friends. At first, Henry's kind of annoyed by it because he likes his quiet time, he likes his alone time, and Martha was an unexpected interruption to his day-to-day life. Henry is not the most popular boy in school. Apparently, other kids think that he's a snob and he looks down on everybody. And so he gets into an altercation with three other boys, and they're like, we've never liked your attitude. You think you're better than us. And so they start fighting. Henry's getting beat up. And then out of nowhere, Martha comes about with like some kind of ballerina kick, and it's just like blasting these fools. One of the boys grabs Martha, and that's the first time that Henry uses violence to protect somebody. And at this point, Martha is 16, and so Henry's 19, so he's about to graduate. Martha's just now going into high school. Henry sort of scolds Martha. He's like, "Why did you use violence? That was dangerous." And she's like, "What do you mean? They were gonna hit you. I'm just defending you." And so they kind of have like a moral back and forth about what's right and what's wrong. Henry is really upset by this, and so he runs off to one of the teachers and basically begs to be punished. He's like, "Teacher, give me a Tanitra's bolt. I acted like an animal. I used violence against these other boys." And the teacher is like, "Son, calm down." And so one of the boys, his name is Falco, and Henry is like, "You have to expel Falco. You have to punish him. He's a bully and all of this stuff." The teacher says, "We can't really do anything about this guy. His family is very wealthy and an important supplier when it comes to munitions for the military. So this is important because the country is on the edge of war. It hasn't actually happened, but apparently this Falco family is a very important family as far as, the military is concerned." And so the teacher's like, "Nothing's gonna happen to Falco. We can't risk not having this family in our back pocket." So that conversation sort of has a profound effect on Henry. He's like, even our teachers are corrupt. He decides at this point that the only way to suppress violence and to do things that are elegant is through education, because Henry feels like education has fallen to the wayside in lieu of everything that's happening in the background. And so he tells Martha that he wants to be a teacher, and just states all of his reasons. He's just very goal driven. He wants to be a teacher. This is his calling. And so him and Martha are further having this conversation. Martha says, "The tea is bitter today. What's going on?" And Henry says, "Well, with the war coming, the price of tea has gone up, so these are the only leaves that I could afford." And which I think is another important note again. Small luxuries in life sort of cease with the backdrop of a potential war. Martha's like, "I think I could get used to it. This is fine. It's good." And so they continue their conversation, and Henry's like, "I'm about to graduate. I hope that you carry on the tradition with your friends, become an Imperial Scholar, and then you can build memories with other people." The reality that he's about to graduate starts to sink in with Martha, and she's like, "Hey, have you invited anybody to the graduation dance. And Henry's like, what? That was sudden. He never really answers the question. It flashes to him graduating, and in the back of his mind, he's like, I was so goal driven that I didn't consider the feelings of people around me. And so he's mature enough to understand that on some level he did hurt Martha's feelings, whether that was love, whether that was just friendship, even Martha herself, because she's telling all of this to Becky, and Becky's like, oh, why didn't you ever tell him that you loved him and all of these things? And Martha's like, as a girl, I didn't even realize my own feelings. I wasn't mature enough to understand why I felt the way I felt. And so time passes. Martha is now about to graduate. She's an Imperial scholar. She hasn't really thought about Henry for a while. I think 2.5 years pass, and she does think about Henry for a moment. She's like, oh, he should be a senior at the university he's going to. And so at their ceremony at Eden, some of the other professors announce new teachers that are going to be starting. And so Henry is one of the new teachers that comes back. And so she sees him and she's like, little did I know that the drumming of war was coming to drown out the beating of my heart. That's how the chapter ends. And so I thought this was a great chapter. We got a lot of information about sort of how things work with war and politics, how people make sacrifices. And I feel like now that we have this foundational chapter, I think the next arc is just going to focus on the war, the starting of the war. I think we're going to go straight into it. I think it's going to be pretty devastating. I want to see what happened with Henry. I want to see what happened with Martha, because during the Red Circus incident, Martha was moving, and she wasn't moving like a normal citizen. She was moving like somebody that had combat training. So my theory is that Martha went to the military. Whether she was like drafted, I don't know if that was a thing at this point. I don't know if both of them went to the military. I don't know if Henry actually got to, become a teacher at that time, or if that was postponed due to the war. So I'm very interested in the next chapter to see what happens to both of these characters. So yeah, it looks like we are sort of going into the next arc. I'm hoping we get at least 3 or 4 chapters about the war and what happened. That would be very exciting. So yeah, really enjoyable chapter, great character development, and I'm definitely looking forward to chapter 98. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments, and until next time, remember to be awesome and stay true.